You guys, I am so stoked to have this gorgeous divine being today. I feel like I'm in the presence of a beautiful goddess. And not only that, just a friend. So Elise and I go way back,
Way back.
way back. I feel like when we first connected, Elise, it was almost like a different lifetime just because we've evolved so much since, that first time at the motor office 9 years ago. And I just have to say, I'm so blessed to be able to see this evolution in your journey and the way that you impact people, and most importantly, really surrender to your gifts and your intuitive power, and just with everything that you've been able to create, from your healer certification course to awaken your soul to just this beautiful community of light workers that you facilitate is so amazing. And so I'm so honored to have you lead at the Soul Success virtual retreat and share with our attendees your gifts to ground, to connect, to, listen to spirit, and to really just hone in on our own unique intuitive powers that I feel like each of us possess. So thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's always so fun to be in your presence. And yes, we both have, totally different lifetimes ago, right? The cycle of life and the evolution of really what can be. When I met you, that was one of my first yeses to my intuition.
Mm.
I shouldn't say one of my first, but there had been some dormant space and dormant time. I
Mm-hmm.
had just gone through melanoma skin cancer, and it was my wake up call. And I knew ever since I was a little girl that these gifts, these spiritual gifts, my intuition, seeing, third eye opening, all of that stuff, I knew that it was there, but I didn't know what it meant yet. And that moment of meeting you and Laura Holloway, one of the other amazing speakers who will be at this event, meeting the two of you was one of my, all right, I surrender, God. I surrender. Show me what's next. And literally 2 days later, I meet you and Laura. It was literally that immediate from my intuition. So it is kind of cool to come full circle in this moment of, being able to share this in this space and this event. It's been a wild journey, and I'm so excited to be that facilitator and healer and space holder for women to deeply, deeply connect with their inner truth, with their intuition, and not only connect with it, but actually trust it and access it and use it at not just ooh, there's the wind, or ooh, there's maybe my intuition, but this is my intuition. I must take this step, and this will give me greater access to XYZ, the miracles in life.
So beautiful. I would love to hear a little bit more about your journey into this whole world and you channeling these gifts, because I know that since you were a little girl, you knew that you had the power of intuition, and you had gifts that might be different from somebody else or scary.
Totally.
But it's funny because when I first met you, I had no idea. I think I remember you saying that it was something, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was something that you kind of closed off for a while. And
Definitely.
then watching this evolution, because you had surgery, and right? Weren't you coming out of surgery?
Yeah,
Yeah, and you were a dancer, and you were a massage therapist, and you did all of these really cool things. Like
Yeah.
even watching you, with choreography and, being on TV. And I'm just like, dude, Elyse is badass. And then there's this whole soft and spiritual and feminine, gorgeous side to you that I feel has really come out of its shell over the past 5, 6, and 7 years watching that. So would you mind taking us through your journey and showing us the evolution of Elyse and her gifts and
Totally.
how they've come on full force in the more recent years?
Yeah. Um, Coming on full force, that's a really great way to say it, because it is, when we choose yes to whatever our gifts are, we are all intuitive, but it doesn't matter what the gift is. When we say yes, it's like, the floodgates open and here it comes. Ever since I was a little girl, even before I can remember, my mom would mention to me, I would talk about my grandmother who had passed, and I would make comments that of things and energies that just weren't actually there. But my
Mm-hmm.
mom always trusted, thank goodness, she really kind of held that space. I didn't know it till I was older, but she really was like, okay, like there's something here, there's something to this. When I was a little bit older, like in my, 7, 8, 9, 10, up until my teenage years, I was seeing spirits. I could sense energies. I was so into like Sylvia Brown books. I don't know if anybody knows Sylvia Brown. She was a psychic medium and channel. I would watch, there was a show on TV, The Crossing Over with John Edwards. I was so obsessed with all of these things and like reading books about the sixth sense and reading books about, back then it was called the sixth sense. Like people didn't even say intuition at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just really obsessed with it. I was connected to it. I was always connected to the way things worked in the body, being a dancer and gymnast. And I really had a lot of health issues growing up. A lot of different things that really, I believe, was spirit's way of like guiding me into a path of connecting with healing and healing my own body so that I could then become a healer and a teacher in this healing realm. So one of the biggest things, I had braces, and for 9 months of the time that I had braces, I was extremely ill. Doctor, specialist, nothing. And finally, on a desperation, my mom took me to a natural homeopathic doctor. Within 15 minutes, she said, "Oh, your daughter is metal toxic and we need to detox her body using herbs." And she really became, outside of my mom,
Mm-hmm.
she really became my first teacher and showed me what it was like to work with chakras and color therapy and herbs and listening to your body. And I remember during that time hearing a voice, I believe it was God's voice, and he said, "You are a healer. You are a healer." And I was like 13, right? I'm like, what does that mean? But I knew there was power and there was potency behind it. And I remember just taking all of this on, learning how to muscle test and energy test for vitamins and food and cleansing my body and all of the things. But then it was like a lot, and I was seeing a lot and I was feeling a lot. I didn't know what was light, what was dark, what felt good, what didn't. And so I did. I said a prayer. I was like, please take all of this away. And one day when you're ready for me to use it, when I'm ready to use it, welcome it back. And so there was a series, I was a massage therapist. I was going into these different areas to learn, to grow, to expand. I would like dance in the spiritual realm, but really didn't fully commit to like, okay, I'm ready, until that melanoma skin cancer moment, which was 2010. So that occurred. I had surgery. Thankfully, they found nothing else in my body, which is amazing. But that really was my surrender moment. I said, I get it. I'm on, a different path, and you want me to be on this path. I surrender. And so that was when I met you and Laura, and then, Monica, a dear friend and mentor of ours, and then a whole bunch of other teachers and trainers came into my life to help me and hold space for me to open up into this realm. And, the journey's been different. It's been wild. It's been crazy. I feel like, you know, each layer is something new. What I was doing in the beginning was like so basic to what I can, you know, open up to and channel and bring through now. But I think that's the beauty of spending time on your craft and really being in it and living in it. You know, the work that I do is really profound. I can see energy patterns in your body and in my body and in my clients' bodies, and really see like where are the stressors and why are they there and what did they come from and what can help to relieve that. And also, you know, channel through loved ones come through in sessions sometimes. You know, the angels come through and bring beautiful messages. Um, and just a whole bunch of other profound work that comes through sound and movement. You know, I really like to use the movement because of dance, right? Our body is not meant to be stagnant. And when we move our body, whether it's through sound and the vibration, through vocally toning, through moving our body, we're able to move the energy patterns so that we can actually have that quantum shift and really release some of those patterns and traumas and let go of the, you know, the lineage, the junk and the lineage that we are carrying. And we can be cycle breakers, and we can truly bring through a whole other level of gifts and receiving and visioning for ourselves and for the next generations that are coming through. So it's really profound work. I love the immersive work. I love the retreat work. I love just diving in and like getting to the nitty gritty, the full like ugly cry release, so that you can have the full like absolute joyful experience and be able to live that truth every single day.
So beautiful. And I feel like what I'm hearing from you is it all started with a yes. And then
Yes.
you just kept saying yes
Saying yes.
over and over and over again. And I think for me, in my experience and my spiritual journey, it started as a yes. Before it was like a no, like that shit is weird.
Totally.
And so I
Totally.
closed myself off for so long. And then one day I just said, yes, like I want to explore this part of me that's beyond the physical, beyond what the
Yeah.
eye can see. And the momentum and the growth comes from there. And so I think, for some people that are watching, they might be in different places where they're like, yes, Elyse, I completely understand and get, and I'm on the same path too. And then there might be another part of us where we're like, okay, I'm intrigued, but it's still a little outside of my comfort zone. I know for me, one of the first steps was just looking for signs, like being open to
Yeah.
signs everywhere. And I know there's a book that I just read called Signs, and I think it's applicable to anybody who, really is looking for guidance that's beyond the physical world and the quantum and the spiritual, and, from whatever parallel universe they think. But the most basic ways of really tapping into spirit and inner guide for me is just looking for signs. You know, like like for me, a big sign is, anytime I see a phoenix,
Yeah.
right? Or a blackbird. And so I think for us, we might see things like even like numbers, like 333 is my
Yeah.
number. Anytime I see it, I know it's confirmation. And then I see it everywhere. And so my point is that I guess I'd love this direction to go. Like, what would you say to somebody who is unsure of, how, like, okay, Elyse does all of these amazing things, but like, where do I go from here
Yeah.
in a way that's not scary, in a way that's not so confusing, in a way that I can really take with me every single day?
It's a really good question. I mean, I certainly danced in that space for a long time, even as I was kind of like entering into the opening and to the quote unquote awakening. It was like, is this really okay? Like, there are things in my past that tell me this might be unsafe. There are things in my past that tell me that this might be scary or woo-woo or weird or whatever. And the biggest thing, and this sounds so cliche in so many ways, but breath. Breath is the first place to start. We are so on autopilot with our breath that we don't consciously bring breath into our daily practice. And when we create that space, because breath creates space, when you can say yes to the breath, then that's when the signs come. Then that's when the messages show up. Then the brilliant idea for your next project or business comes. And when we're so conditioned to just be on the go and not create this space, we actually shut down the inspiration and we shut down that creative space. We shut down the feminine receiving. And so when we take the breath, our energy opens, our bodies begin to open. And when I say breath, I mean like literally like 3 deep breaths can be enough. Yep. Obviously, more is better. I really recommend, if you're not doing a breathing or meditation practice, start with 3 minutes. 3 minutes of breath twice a day. And in that 3 minutes, imagine and think about opening, 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 opening. And then from that open space, the question that you had about, you know, whatever's going on at your kid's school, or the question that you have been deciding what color to make your branding colors, you know, like in that space, you can actually ask the question and have space for the receiving to come, for the inspiration to drop in. So I always recommend the breath first. I don't even say quote unquote meditation, because meditation can scare a lot of people too. Like, oh, I don't know, I can't quiet my mind. Well, I have a whole other thing about that. But meditation really isn't quieting your mind. It's really actually learning how do you like rise above it. Because the mind chatter is there. We don't want our brains to stop. Our brains are helping us. But it's about creating the space. So I would say the breath first, and then definitely start to notice things around you. I always have my clients do an observation journal if they're newer in their spiritual journey, to start to observe. Like this morning I woke up and I felt inspired to walk outside and look at the sun rising. And maybe that's something different than normal. So jot that down. Oh, today on my way home from work, I felt like maybe I should turn right. Whether you actually took the action or not, it's starting to jot down that really quieted, like whispering voice that is your intuition. Because once you start to note it, once you start to see it, again, whether you actually take the action and like go with it or not, it's giving the universe that little nudge that like, oh, she's listening. Oh, she's paying attention. And so more signs are going to come because of that, of course. So those would be the 2 things that I would say kind of like to jumpstart you and support the opening. And you will start to receive confirmation that things are changing. You'll see it. You'll feel it.
Yes, so much to be true. The way that I like to look at it is there are ideas everywhere, and a lot of them are actually meant for us. They're part of our soul's contract. They're part of our purpose. But when we're closed off and when we say no all the time, then they can't land. Like I even imagine them like coming like down through the crown chakra into our heart, and then that's where the expansion comes. And but when I say no and I give in to the limitations, and when I'm operating from ego and scarcity and fear, then this is closed off, and those brilliant ideas that are floating around cannot come through and channeled through me. And so just because I'm a very visual person, that's why I like to see it. It's just like these ideas that are floating around like clouds in the sky. And then when we're ready to receive, then they land and we facilitate that. So
totally 100%. And you know, you just got to keep trusting. That's the hardest part sometimes, is just keep trusting that there's another step. Keep trusting that there's another step. Keep trusting there's another step. And just create the space. Create the space. When you create the space, I mean, it's just so juicy. Like it's so juicy. I don't even have words for what can occur and what messages. I mean, I've had clients who are, you know, work so closed off. They started to open and they started seeing, like literally physically seeing better, you know, their bodies feeling better. They're wanting to cleanse things out of their home or get something new or start a new business. It's like all of a sudden these passions come alive within us because they've created the space for those ideas to land. And it's like all of a sudden they're like, wow, I feel like me, like the real true me again. And it's so beautiful to see that.
Mm. Well, I know that you're going to be facilitating some really juicy workshops at the Soul Success Virtual Retreat. So if you guys haven't already, make sure to grab your ticket at thesoulsuccess.com/events. And so that you can get some real live magic from Elyse, the magician herself. And I don't know why I just said
Totally.
magician, but that was the first one that came to mind.
It's okay. I like it. It's good.
So Elyse, if people want to learn more about you, if they want to find you, where can they do so?
ElyseFalzone.com is my website. Online, you can find me, or like on Instagram, _awaken your soul. And you can also go to awakeandsoulful.com as well. You'll find me in all of those spaces.
Yeah, and I love being in your Facebook group. I know there've been a few times
Yes.
you've done some live card readings, which have been really helpful for me. So
Totally.
check it out, you guys.
That's Awaken Your Soul Sisters and Misters. It's a super fun group.
Ooh, I like that.
I like it.
Elyse,
thank you, Megan.
Thank you so much. So before we leave, would there be any advice that you would give yourself as a beginning entrepreneur that you know now?
Oh gosh, that's such a great question. I even still to this day come back to consistency. Consistency.
Yep.
Because, it's like the good ideas are great and like getting excited and popping them out there are great. But if you're there and gone and there and gone and like super hot and then super cold, the person who's so consistent, like that's really who's remembered. And that's really who, to me anyway, from my experience, both when I've been the most consistent, that's when more things show up. Because when I'm consistent here, it provides space for all these other things and other places to show up. But if I'm trying to go here and I'm trying to go here, I'm missing that consistent, steady kind of like manifesting spiral. So consistency. Stay consistent, even if it's a smaller amount of whatever is your goal is. A smaller amount more consistently, I think, pays off more in the end.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you don't need to have radical change overnight. Just keep showing up every single day and eventually the ball will start rolling. I love that.
With intention, I will say that. With intention.
Yeah, baby.
Consistency with intention.
Let's just keep adding more. Let's keep going. We could do this all day long.
And fun. Just kidding.
And aligned.
And aligned. And
so much. All right, you guys, check Elyse out, thesoulsuccess.com. Check out her groups, check out her website. Elyse, thank you so much for being with us today, and I cannot wait to see you in just a few days.
Yes, see you guys later. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.